The quarterback tiers from Mike Sando and The Athletic come out yesterday. Grandy and I talked about them quite a bit. I know that's one of your favorite things. And there are some scheduling quirk. We're not going to play win-loss. We're not going to give you, whatever, 12 wins, 11 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins. I find that a little bit boring. But when you do a little bit of a deeper look at some of the quirks of the upcoming season, I find it interesting. I have heard a lot of people talk about how the 49ers go 12-5 last year with all of those injuries, but they were playing such a painfully easy schedule, and they won't have that to kick around this year. And my response is, Warren Sharp has the 49ers this year having the 7th easiest schedule in the entire NFL, and that is based on an actual metric. It is based on the projected Vegas win totals for each of the teams. Now, I know you did a deeper dive on the quarterbacks that the Niners will face.
Right.
And I remember those conversations from last year, and it was laughable. They were like, none of the elite quarterbacks are on their schedule. This year it's different, but not that different. What did you find?
Well, what's different is at the bottom. And last year, if you look at who they faced in Tier 1, they only had 2 games against Tier 1, and that was the Matthew Stafford games. He was number 5 overall. This year, he's moved up. Last year, they had 2 against 2 Tier 2 teams. They had 6 against Tier 3. They had 2 against Tier 4, but here's where the big wrinkle last year comes in. They had 3 against rookies who are never ranked in the tier. I believe they went 3-0 against Ward, Sanders, and Jackson Dart.
They did.
And then they had 2 games against unrated quarterbacks. Grandpa Rivers off the couch.
Yep.
They won that one. And Jacoby Brissett was unranked last year. So 5 of their 17 were against guys who were not even in tiers 1 through 4.
Well, and Brissett, did they play Brissett twice?
They played Murray the first time, Brissett the second time.
Kyler the first time, Brissett the second time.
So,
okay.
In terms of the overall ranking of those quarterbacks, it's 21.6 last year. And for the guys who weren't ranked, I added in their ranking this year. And I just gave Phillip 40th last year because he was on the couch. I had to give him a numerical value. This year, they've got 3 against Tier 1s, Stafford twice, and Mahomes.
Yep.
They've got 6 against Tier 2 quarterbacks.
Yep.
That, to me, is where the bigger jump comes in.
You've got a Jalen Hurts. You've got a Justin Herbert. You've got 2 Darnolds, right, who is up to Tier 2. Is that correct?
It is.
You've got a Dak Prescott.
Yep.
And a Jaden Daniels.
There you go. You nailed it. Attaboy, partner.
Okay, now here's the other, and this is obvious. This goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. You don't know that they're going to play all of these guys.
Of course.
The same way Grandpa Rivers got thrown in there. Who knows who is going to be available and when by the time the 49ers get him. So this is also subject to change. But I'll point out a little quirk. Maybe this is a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. But a lot of what you're pointing out gets condensed into the month of December and actually into January. There's a 4-week stretch toward the end of the year where the 49ers will go home to Stafford, at Herbert, which is also known as home to Herbert, at Mahomes, and then home to Hurts. 4 weeks in a row. 2 Tier 1s, 2 Tier 2s. So they're very condensed into there. But outside of that, you start with Stafford in Australia, and then look what happens. Right? You get back for Malik Willis, and then you get a Jacoby Brissett, and then you get a Bo Nix. I'm not saying Bo Nix is bad, but that's still a very young player. You go to Darnold, and then you're home to Jaden Daniels. Then you go to Atlanta, and I don't even know who that will be. Is that Tua? Is that Penix? Then you get a week off, and then you'll probably play Mendoza. It might be Cousins.
Yeah, I put down Cousins for the sake of argument.
I mean, there's a Minnesota on here. You get to play Jackson Dart again. There'll be another Brissett or whoever, Carson Beck, later in the year. So it's better. It's better than last year.
Yes.
It's still not like Murderer's Row.
It's not. It's an average of 17.4, which means it's about 4 ranking points per game. Tougher this year than last year. And the thing that really stood out to me is last year you had 3 against rookies, 2 against the unranked. Brissett and Rivers. And this year, even your lowest opponents, you have 4 games against tier 4, but those are at least people who have played quarterback. Like Brissett and Penix are your tier 4 guys that you're going to face this year. And I think that Willis might be the top of tier 4.
Okay.
So, and he's somebody who I think has a chance to be better than that. He has to go prove it.
The tiers thing, I don't even know what to do with Malik Willis. There hasn't been enough football to know who that guy's going to be. He did some things with Green Bay last year that are pretty interesting. A lot better than people thought was going to come from him, which is why he got the contract and the starting spot that he's got. But he's unproven, and he's early in the year. It'll be his second start, again, assuming health, and it's on the road here at Levi Stadium for him. So even if he's good, certainly easier to deal with than Stafford, Mahomes.
No doubt.
Right? All of that. So...
And I think that the schedule also early on is a lot more friendly. We mentioned this before. No road games in the first 4. They have the road game, quote unquote, against the Rams in Australia, but then you come home and you've got the 3 at Levi's. So you do have a chance to get off to that really good start.
3 at Levi's, and then your one road trip stays in the time zone, and then you come back, you get an extra day of rest for another home game. So Australia, yes. The next time they leave the time zone is a month, almost 2 months later.
Yeah.
On October 25th. That's the next time they leave the Pacific time zone. And then you follow that, you get a bye week after it, followed by another home game before you then go to Dallas. So I don't know if this is advantageous or not. You know, the injury thing and the length of this trip to start the year, Australia, I know Kyle Shanahan spoke months ago about not really loving it. Plus, they also lose their game at SoFi against the Rams, which is always kind of an experience, and I think they feel it's an advantage. But I'm with you. NFL gave them a, hey, how you doing on the back end?
Pretty much.
For sure.
And, you know, you get a chance to start camp earlier, and then you have the game against Minnesota in Mexico City, which is a home game you have to give up, but it's a spot that you've played before. I can't remember. I think they're going to Colorado Springs after Dallas. They're going somewhere to elevation.
To altitude, yeah.
Yeah, altitude. They're going to get there. That way, when you go to Mexico City, you can assimilate a little bit better. But overall, the quarterbacks are tougher. But I think the schedule, as you were pointing out, a little bit backloaded in difficulty. And honestly, if you can't rush the quarterback better than last year, it doesn't really matter who you're going to face.
Well, that's fair. I mean, that's completely true. What is their win total this year, 9.5 or 10.5? Where's it sitting right now?
I'm seeing 9.5.
You see 9.5. I think that's juicy. I don't want to play win-loss with anybody. And my brain works in a very optimistic way when not given an automatic reason as to why not. And I know people will yell injuries, injuries, injuries. I don't really take into account injuries on August 5th, unless they're of the season-ending variety. I mean, I've got a little bit of a theory for you about why so many 49ers are missing practice right now, and it has nothing to do with the substation at all.
What could it possibly be?
I'll give it to you next. But what are your larger and easier question based on the conversation we're having? Because I think it's weird. I think people think the Niners are going to be good, and they also think they're going to be the third best team in their division, which is not normal. Most people who think their team is the third best team in the division are not planning on the playoffs.
Over 9.5 is the heavy likely side.
I love that.
It's one. Minus 146 for over 9.5.
I think it's a great
play. It's a
play.
steep price. If you feel good about it, you would probably move it up to 10.5 and then get the odds in your favor.
Yeah, I agree with you there too.